Hi there. My name is Otto Verholst. I'm going to be talking to you today about a lesson for students taking Spanish 1. I don't have quite the materials that I would normally be working with where I am right now, nor do I have any students, so I'm going to do my best to go through and talk everybody through exactly what we're going to be doing in class, what our objective is, and what we hope to accomplish today, and then the ways in which we would do that. So first off, obviously every lesson is going to start with an objective. Let's talk about what it is that we want the students to be able to do, and then of course we're going to frame our lesson around that. So our objective today with our lesson is going to be we will be able to recall classroom objects and colors in Spanish. And when I say we, obviously me as the teacher, hopefully, and our students as well. So this is typically a first 6 weeks lesson. I like to start out learning classroom objects during that first 6 weeks because those are going to be things that we're familiar with, that we're going to be using all the time. I'm going to be telling them to take out paper, take out their binder, and so it's just a sort of an easy segue, I feel like. And colors are that go along with our descriptions, and we're going to learn colors as something easy and recognizable during the first 6 weeks as well. This lesson that I have planned for today encompasses both of those things very well, and also sort of adds an element of, you hate to say fun, but yeah, it's a fun activity for the kids to do. They always usually typically really enjoy doing it, and it's almost like they don't realize they're learning, which I think is probably a sign of a pretty good lesson. I have the TEKS written here. Obviously that can typically, the kids might look at that and have their eyes glazed over, but for our purposes today, we're definitely covering 3 of the TEKS with both our Diario and with our main lesson. Typically every day in one of my classes, we will have what's called a Diario, which is in our Spanish binder. It's the first section of our binder. The students come in, the date will be listed on the board for them to write down in the margin, and then they will have a question. Typically the question at the beginning of the year is more to get to know them, things like that, but as we get into content and get into the topics that we'll be discussing and learning, usually the Diario will have a question for the students to answer in Spanish, alerting them sort of to, tipping them off to what we are going to be learning to go along with the objective. So our Diario for today is ¿Cuál es tu color favorito? In English. It's also it's a great one to start out with in the first 6 weeks. A great question because they're cognates, and so this is a question that is in Spanish that would be very easy for students to figure out, which is very imperative to do at the start to kind of give them a head start and get them learning. ¿Cuál es tu color favorito? What is your favorite color? Definitely speaks to what part of our objective is to learn colors, and the students will hopefully, by this point, be given the skills to complete that in a complete sentence in Spanish as well. So at the start of our class, we would definitely go through, talk about what our favorite colors are, maybe delve into why our favorite colors are, start talking about por qué, which in Spanish means why, and that would lead to our classroom discussion. The next thing we would do, once we got done with our Diario and got done speaking about what our favorite color is that we would probably get into pairs with our students and go over their flashcards for both colors and classroom objects. Each vocab set that the students make, they will make a sheet in the vocabulario section of their binder that will have all of the vocab for each of the given subjects. And they will also need to make those into flashcards so that they can get off into pairs and even on their own at home be able to study their words. So at that point I would have the students get out their flashcards and work with a partner that's next to them, quizzing each other, obviously showing them the English side of the flashcard and then having them come up with the Spanish. That they obviously know the English already. The students learning and needing to recollect the Spanish in their head is a much better way for them to learn than as opposed to see the Spanish and coming up with the English word. So the students would quiz each other with their flashcards, and I would give them some time to do that. And then at that point we would move into what our lesson for the day is. I didn't have a lot of room on my whiteboard. I would probably have a little bit more of my lesson here for the students to learn, maybe even an English translation. But I've written here, what we are going to do today is we're going to play in Spanish, I Spy with My Little Eye. It's a game that most kids all played growing up. Everybody knows the rules, so we don't necessarily need to get bogged down on how to play. But it's awesome to do in a classroom, especially since we've just learned classroom objects. We're learning colors as well, and so we're tying those two things together, and also working on what our main focus is the colors along with the classroom objects. So I will start out and I will say to the kids, yo espio con mi ojo pequeño algo, and then of course I would name a color. For instance, if the door to the classroom, or maybe door is not the best because it's not typically a classroom object, but there might be a ruler that's brown, and I might say, yo espio con mi ojo pequeño algo café. And at that point, the students would recollect from their heads that café means brown, and they would start looking for classroom objects in the classroom that were brown. And the students would then raise their hands and go through their list of words, and we would play I Spy in Spanish. Typically, you're going to have students that maybe know Spanish a little bit better at this point. You're going to have students that maybe are a little bit shy to raise their hand and say a word in Spanish since we're just beginning. So I'll definitely, throughout this lesson, go around the room, and perhaps even if a kid doesn't have their hand up, if they have the correct thing written down, give them a nudge and encourage them to answer, so that they sort of have the confidence to know that they have what they're supposed to have, and are okay to be guessing. And that's a big thing with Spanish learners. It's their second language. Especially junior high kids tend to be a little bit insecure about things. They can be hesitant to want to say something they think it might sound funny. So that's definitely something I cue on and try and pick up on the kids that might be a little bit shy about doing those things, and encourage them to do their best and to let us know what they know. So anyway, typically that would take the rest of the period. As far as checking in and seeing if students are processing the information, if they have the knowledge, if they do know the colors, if they do know the classroom objects, I think playing the game and seeing the kids that are active and doing so and raising their hand, talking about the different colors, wanting to be the person who gets chosen to do the Yo Espio. In those ways, it's very easy to check in and see which kids are getting it or not. Throughout the activity, I do have the kids write it down. So not only are they playing out loud, but they're writing it down. That gives me the opportunity to walk around, see what their guesses are, in order to really see if the kids are grasping what we're doing in class. Obviously, at the end of our lesson, we're going to talk to the kids and let them know, the reason we played I Spy today is we're really trying to solidify and learning our colors and wrapping in. We already learned classroom objects, so we want to make sure that you guys are continuing to practice that and move forward and use all of the knowledge that we have as a stepping stool and furthering our Spanish house. I always talk to the kids about, use the metaphor of our Spanish house and different things that we learn. The set of colors that we learn might be the curtains for a house. And then obviously when we get to verbs, one of the most important, if not the most important aspect of Spanish, that's going to be our house's foundation. And you can have all those pretty vocab lists, and you can have all those pretty curtains and different things metaphorically for your Spanish house, but it's not going to work very well without your Spanish foundation, which is verbs. But that lesson's for another day. Anyway, thank you very much for listening to how would we go about a Spanish lesson in our class, talking about classroom objects and colors and learning those things together. I hope you enjoyed the presentation.